skapte singla i glass, og Bjørn Eidsvåg kom ramla ned. Halleluja! Og jeg svarer ja, og Cindy sa yes, og snart var vi der godt vei.
Hello, welcome back to YCFT. We're in December now, but we are actually filming this right after Halloween. It's actually bonfire night here. So we haven't taken the Halloween decks down, I've just added the Christmas ones in.
And there might be some booms.
Yeah, it literally is bonfire night, so fireworks could start at any moment.
Yeah.
And I have the notes today.
You do have a note?
Purely because we are talking about a Norwegian film today.
Yeah, David always has notes when it's a foreign film.
Purely so that you can have the entertainment of me trying to pronounce these names. We are talking about 2009's Dead Snow, also known in its native language. I think it's Dod Snow.
Dod Snow.
Yeah, directed by Tommy Wakola, who we've actually talked about one of his films before. He directed Violent Night with David Harbour.
Yeah, he did.
Last year.
Yeah.
I adore this film.
Movie.
Yeah, I adore this film.
You do.
It's a Nazi zombie film. And
which is a weird, it's a
Zombie
genre that's, gaining popularity.
it's basically about a group of medical students
Yeah.
who are going to this cabin on the snowy mountains so they can, just have a bit of fun.
A little retreat.
Little bit of a retreat. The girlfriend of one of the ones just went ahead because I think she was with a different group. They get there and she's not there. So the boyfriend kind of goes off to have a bit of a wander after he has a bit of a premonition. The rest of the group is met by a wanderer. He's literally just credited as a wanderer called, this will be the first name, Bjorn Sundkirst as the wanderer, who kind of tells them the history of the area.
And the legends.
And the legends of the real history of the town that was besieged by the Nazis.
Yes.
And they were kind of chased off into the mountains after stealing all the town's gold. And they kind of almost haunt the mountain. Then zombie things start happening from there. The zombies themselves are a mix between your traditional zombies and Druger or Drogue. I'm going off Skyrim how they pronounce it, Druger, which is basically a Scandinavian folklore tale of undead greedily protecting its often stolen treasures, which is what this is about. It's all about stolen gold, and when our group kind of come across it, that's when things start going wrong. Although I do think the zombies do tend to attack people whether or not they have the gold.
Whether or not, yeah. It's if you're a hindrance or if you're in the way, then yeah, they're not going to think twice about killing you.
Very simple plot, this one. And my relationship with this film is I acquired it in about 2012 when I was in uni. And it didn't have an English dub at the time. And it didn't come with any subtitles, so I just watched it in Norwegian.
Admittedly watching the movie, it's not hard to pick up the plot. But there are a lot of dialogue scenes, when the Wanderer's talking about, the Nazis.
Oh, I had no idea.
No, exactly.
I said all the relationship between certain characters. I said the Wanderer I had no idea, but a couple I thought were brother and sister.
Yes, they're not.
So, yeah. I missed out on a lot of details, but ultimately I still followed the film.
Oh yeah, it's after the violence kicks in, it's pretty easy to follow.
Yeah, exactly. It's a zombie film.
It's a Nazi zombie movie.
Let's go through some names here.
I
know it's pretty low. I think I had a budget of about 2 million this one.
Yeah.
So we got Geir Vegenhol as Martin Heikenrud.
Martin.
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 Stig Frode Henriksen as Roy Tovinen.
Roy.
Charlotte Frogner as Hannah Dellen.
Yeah.
That's nice and easy, thank you. Lasse Valdal as Vegard Roster.
Okay.
Evie Kassif Roster as Liv Beck. I've noticed a lot of them just switch names around between the actors and the main characters.
Yeah.
Jeppe Beck Larson as Erland Johnson, who we noticed, I've watched this movie a lot. He went on to play Hasten in The Last Kingdom, and we love The Last Kingdom, and he has changed a lot. He's had a massive glow up.
It's actually kind of frightening and staggering at how much a person can change in the space of 2009, so 14 years?
Probably roughly about 10 years by the time Last Kingdom started.
There is no similarity between 2009 Jeppy and 2022 era Jeppy.
Yeah.
It's actually mind-blowing.
And he actually has quite a small role in this as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Good kill though.
So we also have Jenny Scarlin as Chris Frogner.
Okay.
So you see, Charlotte Frogner is the actress, and then they've named a character Frogner as well.
Yeah.
So
but it's I guess
and obviously Vegard Roster as a character, when we have Evie Kassif Roster as an actress playing a different character. They've just mixed their names up. Then we have Annie Dahl Torp as Sarah, but she's only in one scene at the beginning, kind of the opening kill. All right, let's see if I can get this. So we got Orjar Gamst, and he plays basically that guy here, the lead zombie. Standorten Führer Herzog.
Wicked of people. Oh god, I'm so sorry, everyone.
Standort Führer. I think that's about right.
Yeah.
Standort Führer Herzog.
Herzog. I mean, it's a kind of movie, like, it has to be said, where the names of the characters aren't so much important. It's like you kind of define them by their death.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. This is how, like, I kind of remember Chris, and I remember the, oh god, what's her boyfriend called? The one that's killed, Hairston. The one that's killed.
Erland.
Erland, yeah. Kind of remember him.
Oh, because they have sex in a toilet.
Because they have sex in a toilet.
In an outhouse. And it's like, what? No! You didn't wipe!
I'm sorry, I know we're going to talk, like, we're going to dissect, like, our favourite scenes and stuff, but we need to circle back to the toilet sex scene.
Well, we might as well just start with the toilet sex scene, because
the first time I watched, so my history with this film starts with David, because I'd not even heard of this before I met you, and I think it was like our first couple of months together, actually. You were like, oh, have I got a film for you?
Yeah. And it's taken like nearly 4 years to get you to watch it.
And it was a lot of fun when I did watch it. Like, I really enjoyed it. But like the first time I watched it, I was mortified at the scene where Erland and Chris kind of fancies Erland, like, from the very beginning. So, like, a few of the characters are together, a few of them aren't, but with the, like, intention of hooking up whilst they're away. And Erland and Chris are single, but they, you know, she's kind of got the hots for him. And she follows him into the toilet, where he announces to people he needs to do a shit before he goes into the toilet. So we all know, like, there's no secret. We know what he's going in there to do. And as he's sitting on the crapper, she just straddles him and they start having sex. And I can't, like, even now watching it again and picturing it in my mind, it's actually horrifying to me that is actually a scene in a movie, because we don't know what stage he's at in that scene. It's like, has he just been? Was he just about to go? Is he clenching to hold it? It's like, what? I don't know. But I find myself asking these questions because the scene just really, like, I hate it, but I also really like it at the same time.
Like, I really like the scene with the Wanderer, because I just think that Bjorn it's really good. Obviously, great bit of, like, exposition. He's just smoking a cigarette through, and I always, like, cigarette smoke works so well with cinematography just to make, like, really interesting scenes.
Yeah.
So Vegard, obviously, because he has a dream about his partner, who I now know is his partner, not his sister, because I think that when I watched it with you, it was the first time I've watched it with subtitles, so I knew what the dialogue was.
What a novelty, new experience.
I didn't realise. I messed up. I bought this years ago. I remember one point I bought it and the wrong film arrived, a film called Bloodstorm. And that was... I decided to keep it and watch it, and it was atrocious.
I can kind of see where, like, the error...
I eventually got it. But then I forgot that I had it, and I went out and bought it again. So I own it twice. So if any of my mates who live in the area want a copy of Dead Snow, just let me know and I'll give it to them. There's actually a ton of special features on here, which is really cool. So Vegard goes off to try and
find for Sarah. He knows something's wrong. This is out of character for her.
And this is when they start getting attacked.
Yes.
And I'd say two major influences. When they're in the cabin, there's absolutely Evil Dead. I'd say Evil Dead and, like, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But overall, I'd say Shaun of the Dead is probably the biggest inspiration. You can tell by the editing style, like, there's a lot, like, the choppy editing, the gearing up. It's like, oh, this is a film that absolutely would not exist without Shaun of the Dead.
No, that is absolutely true. I mean, I think there's, like, a few references to cinema throughout, because there's the scene where they discover the gold underneath the cabin and then they open it up and it's like, you know, the Pulp Fiction shot as well. So it's like, what's he called? Tommy Wirkola? Yeah. It's clearly like a, you know, he's a fanboy. He's throwing in a few references. A lot of things, which
I really like. So I really like the attack on the cabin. That's when, we're going to spoil certain character deaths.
Yes,
but we're not going to talk about, like, this isn't going to be one where I think we talk about the movie in length, because I feel like it's just worth going to watch, because it's just a good time. But as soon as I knew this was going to be a different type of zombie movie, was when Hairston, even though he's not called Hairston, Erland. A shot that was very reminiscent to how David dies in Shaun of the Dead when he's getting pulled out the window.
Dragged out.
But then suddenly the fingers go in the eyes, rip his head open, and his brain falls on the floor.
I know.
And it's like, okay. All right. And even then, like, when it's not Chris, the first girl that dies. Yeah, it is Chris.
The one that has sex with him in the toilet.
Yeah. The one whose head gets taken off.
Yeah.
And there's always hold her head outside the window.
Yeah, and I think it's is it Evie? The character, or is that the actress name?
Liv.
Sorry, yeah, Liv.
Evie plays Liv.
When Liv is looking out the window and she sees Sarah and she's like, oh, phew. It's like, what are you doing out there? And then the head just kind of like
Love it.
disappears. Like, it's such a good scene.
Yeah. So
Yes, that first cabin attack is...
and they do everything right there. They barricade up and everything. But,
Yeah, they're smart.
and I think the movie wouldn't be as fun if that's all it was. And it's the next day when then they realize, we need to get out of here. We can't just all go to the car because Vegard is still out. He's still off on his own adventure.
Yeah, they don't
So they decide
abandon
to send
them, mate.
the two guys, so Martin and Roy, are going to stay behind and cause a distraction while Hannah and Liv go and get the cars and go get help. So they split off. I say Vegard is off doing his own thing. We see the Wanderer get killed in one of my favourite scenes when he's just like in his tent.
Very Dog Soldiers.
Very Dog Soldiers-esque. And I love that whole scene. I said, the film is quite cheap and cheerful. They go for it with the kills. And even Vegard, like the first time he has to take on some of the zombies and discovers, the head of his partner.
Yeah, like that.
It is all the fights feel really personal and up close, and
They put up a good fight.
Blood Against Snow is just, I love that aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. There's a really, just reminded me of Vegard where he's taken out some of the Nazis, and then like one of them is impaled on a tree, and then another one sneaks up on Vegard, and like they go off the cliff together, but Vegard manages to grab hold of some of the loose intestines from the zombie that's impaled, and like kind of acts as like a rope, almost. But the zombie is still sort of conscious, and he's like being pulled further and further into the tree. That was really well done. Yeah, really, really well done. And I think the movie does a pretty good job at like not making it easy to guess who the final character is, whether it's going to be a final girl. I'd say out of the girls, Hannah definitely was in the running to be a final girl. Yes.
And I think just to look at him, Vegard looks like he should be the final boy.
Yeah, it kept me guessing the first time I watched this. And then when Vegard is ultimately taken out in a great scene, I was very surprised at that. And well, we are going to spoil like certain characters anyway. And then Hannah dies in a really interesting death.
Yeah, we'll not spoil that one because I think it's very interesting.
And then it's like, so we're kind of left with Martin and Roy.
Both of them aren't traditional final boys.
No, they're really not. I mean, it's like a lot of the characters' personality traits come to full force in that first zombie attack. You can see how they're all reacting to it. And Erland, bless him, before he's taken out, is like, oh, don't get bit, because if we get bit, then we're going to turn into a zombie. Like, using movie references. Like, that's his logic for it. And, obviously, it's like he gets his head split open and his eyes squished out and everything else. But, Hannah is the one, she's like barricading the door and like,
Hannah puts up such a good fight.
She's a really good character. Like, she is. Like, and you've got the classic difference of the girls as well. You've got Hannah, who's like, she's panicking, obviously, but she's good at keeping it together and like thinking in a crisis, whereas Liv is the one that's like kind of falling apart a little bit and doesn't want to be separated and doesn't want to split off and kind of crumbling, I guess. But
Hannah, as a white girl, rocks those dreads.
It's a
tough balance.
I know. I like all the characters, to be honest.
I do.
Like, they're all entertaining in their own way.
The scene that kind of sets this movie apart for me, what keeps bringing me back, there's basically one scene in particular. You know what it is. It's the distraction that Martin is our final boy.
Martin is our final boy.
It's kind of obvious because they did do a sequel, Dead Snow 2, or Dodd Snow 2, Red vs. Dead, and Martin does, the same guy does return.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that one, before I get into the scene, they filmed every scene twice, once in Norwegian and once in English.
Wow.
So like, film them simultaneously. I'm like, that's an interesting choice.
So they just do like one take Norwegian, one take.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I always remember because they got funding for it, but then they did a GoFundMe because they said that we have the budget to make the film, but we really want a tank. And we think the movie would absolutely benefit from having a tank. And as someone who's watched the movie, it absolutely benefited from having a tank.
Totally.
Because it's in so many scenes in the movie. So obviously did well enough to get a sequel.
Yeah.
And Martin got to return.
It's also just like, I know obviously English is the international language, but it always makes me feel really ashamed at like someone's ability to just break into one language and then immediately break into one that isn't their own and to do it fluently. Whereas we're just like muddling through with the subtitles like, what?
Yeah. So I said, like,
what is that?
This movie's perfectly enjoyable even if you can't understand a word.
Apparently so. Yeah. No one's best place to say that more than you.
Yeah, and this particular scene, so it is Martin and Roy stand off against the Nazi horde. And there's this song that starts playing over, and they're just like in this like open field covered in snow with various different
they're armed.
weapons.
They've done the Edgar Wright gearing up sequence.
Yeah.
They've got the pickaxe. They've got
and they're
like
going like
everything.
they're smashing zombies' heads in. Like they've got the chainsaw. They've got a shotgun. Vegard turns up, and now he's got like a World War II machine gun on his snow ski, like shooting them down. And then he ends up killing a few of them with his snow ski. It's incredible. It's bloody. It's so entertaining. But there's this song by Age Alexanderson. Again, I am so sorry. Called Mindag. And it starts like Mindag.
It's so...
Holly good falling.
Yeah. It's so catchy. And it's like, it's
dark. I love it. We've listened to this so many times.
It's become a part of just who we are. This song.
Which translates to have a good day, have a very good day. And they are not having a very good day.
They are not. But I love how it starts of like, I think it's slow motion when Martin and Roy are like, they're, running to the zombies and the zombies are running towards them. And it's like, this epic battle sequence almost. And it's as they're approaching each other, the song just starts playing.
I think it's meant to be reminiscent of, again, Shaun of the Dead. When they're in the Winchester and Queen starts playing when they're fighting a couple of zombies in there. Yeah, sure, it has to have been inspired by that. But this whole scene is fantastic. It's so bloody.
Yeah.
Again, what sells it even more, if that's not enough to sell you on it, we've got a good song, we've got great deaths.
Yeah.
You got to imagine that this next part, I didn't have any dialogue, but I knew exactly what was going on. So Martin gets bit in the arm, and he's like, obviously he's panicking. He's like, oh my God. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, oh, he's thinking he's going to turn into a zombie.
Yeah.
Didn't need the dialogue for this.
You can tell the physical acting.
Picks up a chainsaw, cuts his own arm off, sets one of the zombies' bodies on fire to cauterize the wound, and it's like blood spraying everywhere when he's doing it, and he's like, it goes on for a little bit, like the whole process, like, then the zombie comes out the ground and bites him in the dick. So he's like, I punches him to death. He just goes, no. And I love it. Even without dialogue, I knew exactly what was happening in the scene and the conversation that they're having. And Roy is just kind of stood back, like,
oh my God.
Oh. My God.
I also, so couple of things to that. First of all, the character of Martin, we learn earlier on in the movie, even though he's a medical student, he has a phobia of blood. And so, obviously, by the time he has to cut off his own arm, that phobia well and truly conquered. Second of all, because of the fact that Martin is in the second movie and kind of does answer the question of if being bitten in this film does turn you into a zombie.
No,
or not.
It's not.
No, exactly.
He did not need to chop off his arm.
It turns out the poor guy didn't need to do that. But you know what? Good on him. Quick thing.
It's interesting. There's things like that are established early coming in. Hannah has claustrophobia. At one point ends up when she's on the edge of a cliff.
Facing
Zombies
off
coming
with a
off her,
zombie.
and she just keeps stamping. She basically makes it break away.
Yeah.
And she ends up like buried. Because again, Martin's not really established as like the smoothest guy. Because they're doing like pranks on each other. He's like, oh, do you want to know what medieval penicillin is?
Yeah.
And so close your eyes, lie down. And he puts a pillow over her face.
Yeah.
I can see the joke, but I don't think he realised that she has claustrophobia.
No, it's also a bit of a dick thing to do. Like, he puts a pillow over their girlfriend's face and presses down.
He's trying to woo.
It's Martin's way.
Yeah. But obviously Martin and Roy absolutely fight to survive. Hannah, I think she would earn the right to survive. Even Vegard,
Vegard.
Because he's on his own he's on his own for a lot of it.
Yeah, he takes a lot of zombies out on his own.
Yeah.
Single-handedly he does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he takes a beating.
There's a really nice...
He has to sew himself back together as well.
I was just going to say, like, that's gnarly as hell. Like, but a zombie takes a huge chunk out of his neck and he's like, just... And then he sews it together and then he just gets duct tape to like...
Wraps it around his neck.
He's like, I guess you've got to use what you've got.
Again, I think that's a lot of like the Evil Dead-isms of it, like just the blood everywhere. Like, like a character having to chop off their own arm with a chainsaw is very,
very Evil Dead.
Very Evil Dead.
There's a great moment as well that always makes me howl, where before the final face-off, like where Martin and Roy, go after the zombies to Mindag, And they're still in the cabin at this point, and they're making Molotov cocktails.
Yeah.
And then Rory, like really macho, and he goes to like throw it out the window, and he completely misses the window and just sets the log cabin on fire. And they just look at each other like, oh.
That's also similar to something that happens in Shaun of the Dead, because they end up setting the bar on fire, don't they?
They do, but he does that on purpose though. Yeah, he says, whereas Roy's like this really cool moment. He had one job and he just fucked it entirely.
Yeah.
Completely. And then they try and call for help as well.
They do, and they just don't believe him. They just hang up, and then the phone dies.
Yeah, because Martin's like, hello, we're being attacked by Nazi zombies.
Yeah.
Roy's like, why did you say that? Of course they're not going to come out. They're going to think you're smoking your underpants.
Yeah.
Or he says something along those lines.
That's a lie. You're going to think you're smoking your underpants. I'm now really glad that I've seen it with the dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I now know some of the incredible lines that come out in this film.
Totally.
In case you can't tell, we are fans.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's
fans.
cheap and cheerful. Some of the effects have dated a bit.
It's always a joy to watch.
But it's just really enjoyable. And it's short. It's a short movie as well.
I also think the makeup on the zombies looks really good.
Yeah.
As well.
There's a lot of extras in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, a huge ton of extras. Yeah. And like the whole element of the Nazi gold.
The cursed Nazi gold.
The cursed Nazi gold. Yeah, it's like every time I watch it, it's always like reminiscent of Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, like the cursed Aztec gold and like curse them because they stole it, but they need it or they want it.
Yeah. So we'll say what happens at the end.
Yeah.
Because
It's
Martin,
all
after he
film.
works it out, he goes back to the ashes of the cabin and gives them back their gold. And so they're all chasing him. And obviously he's armless at this point. He's like
Yeah.
covered in blood,
Yeah.
dirt, everything. And then there's just like an extended scene of him just like going back through the forest, making it to the car. He's trying to start the car and a coin falls out. He's like, and you see Herzog at the window.
And
And the movie ends when he punches through the glass. He's like, fuck. Obviously, it took me a little while to get you to watch this one.
It did.
And I can see you've become a fan of it.
I am a fan. It's always a fun time.
What are the odds of us doing Dead Snow 2
Yeah.
Red vs. Dead on the channel?
We will do it. We will definitely do it.
As someone, I have seen it, and it's batshit. That whole film is batshit. And this one, it's not a groundbreaking zombie movie. It's just a good zombie movie with fun characters and good action.
It's
very
fun.
few zombies die in the same way, which what makes it entertaining.
It's a fun time, and I've seen it twice now, and I look forward to watching it again. And like probably it's like a winter staple now. The one thing I will say too is I feel like I felt it when we were watching the movie, but also since having seen some behind the scenes and special features. This film was released in 2009. But I feel like it was probably made a few years earlier at least, because this does not look like a 2009 film. It looks like a 2006, 2007 movie.
Potentially, especially with being like basically an independent movie.
I've got no evidence to back that up. I did try and research it, but I couldn't find anything. But just in terms of like the fashion that they're wearing and like the behind the scenes as well, seeing the hairstyles of the filmmakers, I'm like, that's definitely mid 2000s. That's not late 2000s. you know? So I don't know, but I would be interested to have that confirmed or denied either way.
Do I have any more notes? My only notes on this one was the names.
It was
so
the name, it was an entire page.
I just know. There was a long time, there was a rumour that, I can't back this up, that the film was made in reaction to Call of Duty World at War, because the German version of the game didn't come with the Nazi zombie mode. So the kind of move that was partially the inspiration behind it, because I think there was some German backers behind it. It's like, and obviously Norway having its history with the Nazis as well. Like, we can make fun of our history as well. I have zero evidence to back this up. I can't remember where I got that information from.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the years add up. If the years are wrong, I'll just put a little description on it. So yeah, I don't want to say that as fact.
No.
Without having it backed up, but it, without a doubt, is a film that came in the wake of Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, definitely.
Just the way it's been filmed, edited, acted.
It's a zombie movie. you know?
Absolutely.
That alone, yeah. But it is a fun time. So I would absolutely be up for watching the sequel. Doing a video on
Zwei die.
Die.
It's a great tagline. Yeah. It earns its 18 rating, this one.
Oh yeah, it does. Definitely.
And I never struggle. I always see this in HMV.
Yeah.
And how much did I get this for? It was £3.99.
Nice one.
Like, I didn't think that so many years later I'd still be able to so easily pick up this movie.
I know.
And it's like 80 minutes of extras.
Yeah, well, it's a popular one.
Yeah, I think it is pretty well known. So I don't have any more notes. Do you have anything more to say on this one?
No, it's just, we'll forever be guessing if Erland did actually do his shit or not.
Did he finish his shit? I don't think it's confirmed in the second one.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. So thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.